You are now listening to the sounds of
Milkcrates Microphones.
One of the original founders of RBL Posse, and he is one of the dudes that put San Francisco hip hop on the map. Give it up for Black C.
Hell
Let's
yeah.
go.
Thank you for joining us tonight, bro. Really appreciate you taking time out your night.
Man, for sure. Much love.
Hell yeah.
Back.
Oh, for sure, for sure. So, it's been crazy 30 years
About 30 years, yeah, for
in
sure.
the music industry,
Over
making
30
hip hop
years.
music. Over 30 years.
Yes, sure.
Can you take us back to 1991 and tell us what really made you feel like, you had a shoe
There
or
we
you had
go.
a foot in the game that you could really just be like, I could do this and I could run with this. What made you feel that way?
Really it was just the response I got from the neighborhood when I started. We was recording on a dual deck cassette, my mom's stereo, and we were selling. We was at before I met Mr. C. We was like selling tapes around the neighborhood from like 90, all from like 89 ish or 90 through 91. We was selling tapes. Me, T-Lo, Budweiser, my brother Dre Hype, who was Baby Dre at the time, Flavor. We was selling cassettes around the neighborhood, and it was just they was taking off. People was just buying us out. I buy a 20-pack, sell them out. Buy another 20-pack from Radio Shack, sell them out. So it was one of those things where I kind of knew we had something. I wasn't really rapping at the time. I just really just like the man behind the beats at first.
Were you showing up with a boombox and playing the sample for everybody to hear so they're like, oh, that's dope, and then let me get one of those?
Yeah.
That's slick.
Yeah, we'd go
Very
outside
slick.
and just play it in a radio or one of our friends' car who had, maybe 412s in his trunk, and we'd put it in, and everybody would go crazy and be like, man, I need a copy of that. First I was giving them away, but it was costing me money buying them little 20 packs of the little Memorex or TDK tape. So it was like, I gotta start selling them. My younger brother, he the one that actually came up with the idea. He said, bro, you gotta start selling them. I just wanted people to play the stuff. I just was happy that they was wanting it.
Yeah.
And he came up with the idea like, man, we need to start selling them. You need to just really put together a little, like, we wouldn't call them compilations at the time. He was like, just put together a tape with everybody on it doing their songs and just like try to really put cool mixes on it and really start selling them for money. And that's what we did. And we had a few tracks on there. One of the main tracks that everybody got the first tape for where they spent the money was a song called HP Is My Home, where we were just talking about Hunters Point. And T-Lo and my brother pretty much put together a nice little hit, and they loved it. And yeah, I was able to sell them out. We probably sold about 100 of those.
It's crazy to
That's
think
amazing.
that people didn't know what Hunters Point was till you really came along and put it on the map. Like, you really stamped
Right.
it. Motherfuckers didn't know where that was. They could have said, I'm from Hunters
Right.
Point. They had no idea it was in San Francisco, which is
Exactly.
crazy. It's awesome to think that.
Yeah, and looking back at that time, I mean, compared to now, it's very easy for people to make beats and get on their computer and make a song.
On their
Take us
phone,
through
yeah.
that process of what it was like in 89, 1990 to
Man.
produce a beat, and then also to get your friends to get on it and record their vocals and shit.
Yeah, it was a process, man, back then. Yeah, it's too easy now. But then, man, we had a 4-track. I was so happy when I got enough money to get an 8-track, but we had a 4-track. I started off with a 4-track and a sampler, SB12, and the sample time on it was like 2.5 seconds or something. So we used to have to, first of all, speed up the samples. Like, you had the pitch shift on the turntable. So we'll speed it up real high to where it sounded like chipmunks, play it through at 2.5 seconds, and then slow it down. So we at least probably get at least almost a 4-bar loop. And we'll loop that, put it on the one of the tracks of the 4-track. So we had 3 tracks to rap on. What we used to do is we just like overdub. We'll rap on one track, and then that track, we'll make another, we'll rap 2 tracks. We'll do one track, and we do the doubles, and then those 2 tracks we'll record over to one track. So now the doubles and the beat is on one track, and then we just kept piling up like that till we had maybe 3-4 tracks piled on one track, and then get the second rapper to do it to where we got everybody able to get one verse and 2 tracks of their first verse, and then get the hooks, be able to squeeze the hook up in there. So, I mean, it was a process, you know what I mean? Until I got introduced to TC, and that's when the real technology came in, when we got introduced to the Atari computer. back then, and we seen that, you know, oh, it's an Emax now. They got like 28 seconds or something like that of sampling time, and the Atari computer where you can really program your music to where you can quantize and get everything on beat. Because I was playing everything live at the house, and I mean the quantization was just all the way off. You know, it was like, I mean, I was doing 4-note keys, playing on the piano, looping it really myself. And I'll have to actually play the song for actually like 3-4 minutes all the way through. So you can imagine the notes going all off, and you know, everything was out of tune. So
is this before backgrounds?
It was a process.
Before you can is this before backgrounds? Before you can go on and be like, I'm gonna do some background voices on the back. Is this way
that's
before
what he was
that?
talking about. Was piling up the tracks.
Yeah, you would do it like that.
Yeah, we had to pile them up. We had record on one track, then we'd do the doubles on another track, and then
put them all on one.
Record those over to one track, and then we'd have free up the other 2 tracks, so we'd do the process over and just keep piling them up on that one track.
4-track, man.
Before the game was so easily exposed and everybody could figure it out and everybody knew, how'd you figure it out to do that?
I was just playing with it and just kind of just guessing, because, you know, it wasn't no YouTubes, no Googles. You couldn't. There wasn't no research. We didn't have nobody in our neighborhood doing it. You know, we had one group called ATC, A Touch of Class. They was one of the first ones that came out back in like 88, 87, 88. And they was just really had 2 turntables. They just probably, what they was doing is they'll find a drum loop, maybe got 4 bars, and they'll play it on one turntable, stop it and and had 2 albums, the same album, and then just kind of like go back and forth, just looping it, bring it back on this one while this one is playing. Then they'll go back to turntable A, bring that back and start it over, then go back to turntable B, bring that. So they was kind of doing that process when they was doing theirs. You know, they came up, they was kind of all sounding like LL back then, you know, rapping sort of like the Rock the Bells type style stuff. But when we came in, it was a little bit different. We started playing our synthesizers and started sampling. And really, I actually was playing a lot of original stuff. I didn't really start sampling a lot until I actually got to TC Studio. And that's when I just went kind of crazy, because there was a lot of stuff I wanted to use in my mom's crates that she had from Zapp, you know, Marvin Gaye. I'm talking about, you name it all. She had everything, you know. Cool. So I wanted to sample a lot, but I didn't have a sampling time at the time. So I just played original stuff. So a lot of our first stuff was all original.
Wow,
you know,
awesome.
Music, yeah,
all the way through, no sample. Is that so? You talk about your mom having crates of records. Do you attribute your mom to kind of giving you your musical inclination, or someone in the family?
My mom, man, she used to just, I mean, she was the one, she'll set the speaker out on the porch and just be blasting, you know, the Whispers or Patrice Rushen or whoever, you know what I mean? She was playing everything. She the one put me on the hip hop. You know, I didn't know nothing about the Sugar Hill Gang until my mom played them, you know what I mean? So she was the one who put me on to it. She was the one playing Curtis Blow and all that stuff that got me into hip hop. And from there, I kind of, you know, started hanging out. We had some guys in our neighborhood called Demons of the Mind who was strutting. They used to be strutting to all the African Bambaataa stuff and, you know, Planet Rock, all that stuff. So, yeah, it was, we had a lot of people around there. But my mom, I would say, is the number one, you know, because she had crates. Right now, I still got her original records. Everything that we created our first album off of, I still got all them original crates. You know, right now in my storage, you know, none of that stuff went nowhere. That's all her stuff. And she still let me know to this day, you know.
That's super
Don't
cool.
get rid of my records.
That's the beautiful thing about hip hop and like DIY hip hop. It's like you have all that fucking shit. You have the rights to all your music, and you know, your hands are on all that shit. When was the first time? So how old were you when you first signed your first record deal?
I was 18. Actually, I think I probably just made 18 or something like that when I signed with Intermittent Records. I was just happy to sign. He ended up offering us a deal for like 10,000. Our album had, because what happened was we had sold like 1,000 cassettes, and I just went and put them in consignment in the stores. They sold out and they wanted more. Nice. So what I did was I pressed up another 1,000. And then with those 1,000, TC ended up introducing me to Jason. So when I went over there to Jason, he was just like, yeah, this 1,000, we'll see how they go. You know, I got people asking me about these CDs, these cassettes. And you know, a lot of people have been calling them because they a distributor. They was the music people was a distributor side, they warehouse, and then they had a label inside the music people, which was Intermittent Records, ran by Jason. His father, Elliot, ran the music people, the distribution company. So we went over there just to get distribution. And yeah, they said they was getting calls because of me putting them on consignment in stores. So the stores was trying to get more. And at the time, you know, it was like pagers. It wasn't cell phones back then, really. At the time, you know, they wasn't that high. You had to get paged and go run to a payphone. So they start calling the distributor looking for him. So when I got there, he was already up on it. So we ended up leaving 1,000 there. It was probably like Tuesday. By come Friday, he was like, I need 5,000. So
holy shit.
I went and pressed up 5,000 more and brought him over there. When I brought him over, he was like, man, how about we just do a deal? Because he was getting calls, you know, over the weekend and all that. So he was just like, man, you know what? How about, you know, y'all come back and let's try to work something out by Friday. What I want to do is pay y'all for these 5,000, give you the $5 that you want, COD. I'll give you the 25,000 for those, and I'll give you an extra 10 to sign to the label.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so at the time I was just happy that he wanted it. So I was just like, yeah, let's do it. I didn't even question it. He was just like, nah, you got to get a lawyer and this and that. And I didn't even care at the time. I was just like, nah, I ain't really ready to spend no money on no lawyer. And he was like, I know a lawyer, and he sent it to his lawyer.
That's cool.
I mean? So you could just imagine the contract was definitely in his favor.
Oh yeah, I could imagine. It was all written in his name in the end and everything. Right. I could imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
When you press up 5,000 tapes, how long does something like that take you?
It only took them like a week to redo it. But the first time, it take a minute because you getting everything, the master set up. So it takes probably maybe almost 2 weeks to get it set up. But once you get done, it maybe take 3 to 5 days to repress it up because they got everything already set up. They got your master already there. So they already got your cover, you know, as far as for the artwork. So it's just really just them rerunning them again and wrapping them, shrink wrapping them. So it was probably maybe 3 to 5 days.
You still make royalties off the tapes ever? You still see people, I bought a tape just to have it. It's like a collector type of shit. Do you still see that or no?
Yeah, them tapes is costing now, man. You try to get original tape, they probably like about $200 or something, man, on online. You can't even get the original tapes, you know, as far as cassettes. But even the original to our first order CDs, the original ones, they like $300 to $500 and stuff. So yeah, it's hard to get them. I've been redoing them and repressing them up. I've been putting them back out there, so I actually back out, not the cassettes but the CDs. They steady sell. They steady go. You know, you got a lot of dinosaurs who like, man, hey, they ain't trying to get rid of that CD. They ain't trying to just stream it on Apple or iTunes. It's just something about that CD they just love.
Collector's items now. When you and Mr. C were recording, you know, Don't Give Me No Bam or Weed, did you guys know that you had a hit right away? Did it feel like something special?
Yeah, I already knew it. When I was done with the beat, I went crazy. This was before Mr. C actually got on it.
Okay.
I looped it. As soon as I found that Marvin Gaye sample, I was just like, oh my God, that sample. I was just in there for hours just listening to it as an instrumental. I knew it was a hit. I just had to figure out what to do with it, you know, and automatically I knew it was a weed song. I was just like, man, I'm definitely finna smoke to this because I was in there smoking and I was just like, man, this got to be about getting high. It's definitely got to be a weed song. I just got to get the right hook for it. And at the time I was new to rapping, so I had to figure out how to, you know, just the organize, put together a nice hook. And yeah, me and my boy T-Rob and my boy, rest in peace, Tita Lee, both of them, actually both of the original members who got on the song with me is gone now. They all dead. But yeah, we put out a song. It was called Don't Give Me No Bammer Joint. We don't smoke that shit in Hunters Point. And
that's hard.
Yeah,
that's hard.
Soon as I did it. And at first it was kind of like a joke. We was in there just playing around with it. I can't remember if I came with it. It was just like a collaborative thing where we were just kind of just throwing ideas back and forth. And I came up with the Bammer term because that was just in our neighborhood. Anything that was bunk, we called it Bammer. Yeah. You know what I mean? So bunk weed was just Bammer weed at the time. So I just was kind of playing with that, and we just was repeating it over. Don't give me no Bammer weed. Don't give me no Bammer joint. We don't smoke that. My boy just don't smoke that shit. And we just was playing and joking, and we just kept repeating it, and it just came together, you know. And we end up dropping that, looping it. Rapping it, looping the hook, getting on it, and it was a hit in our neighborhood. Everybody was coming up there looking for it, you know. And so I knew it by the time Mr. C got to it, and we really went to TC Studio to tighten it up and really organize it. It was through the roof. That's when we switched it up just to get the whole city involved.
Isn't it crazy that you have a song that'll be played forever? Like that's a forever song. Like
Yeah,
that goes down in
song.
history.
It always streamed good. As soon as April hit, it's just through the roof.
That's a forever song. That's crazy to think. You have a song that'll never die, and like that for real, never die song.
It's already got to feel like it's been here forever. I mean, it's almost 30 years. Is it 30 years?
30 years. 30 years. Yeah,
Yep.
30. Well, it was actually made 30 when we put it out. It was probably around. Well, it came out professionally, like through the distribution. Actually signed to the label on September 16th, I believe it was. But we had put it out maybe like a month or two before that. You know, it was out kind of like around the neighborhood. You know, so it was just people had it, but professionally, it actually came out in September.
It's made it all the way. It's made it 30 fucking plus years. So
on the cover of
it ain't going nowhere soon.
On the cover of A Lesson to Be Learned, the album off that, who shot that picture, and what gave you the idea to do it like that?
The cover?
Yeah, that cover's hard as fuck.
Yeah, actually, my little brother did it. We just had one of them little cheap cameras that we, you had to go take and get the stuff developed at Walgreens. I just had my little brother took it. He didn't know what he was doing. We took pictures because I got a song called, More Like an Orgy when I'm talking about rolling 4 deep in the mail Jeep. Mm-hmm. They used to sell the mail trucks. They was auctioning them off. And a lot of people around Hunters Point was driving around in mail Jeeps. So we took pictures on the mail Jeep. We had a couple mail Jeeps in our neighborhood. So we took pictures of that. We took pictures on our project building by the Harbor Road sign. And then we took a few pictures in the basketball court. That picture is that's actually behind me right there. Yeah, that one is actually from the basketball court. All our names was on the wall, spray paint and all that. So me back then, I was just into the eye candy part of it. So I designed it. I had everybody stand in certain position. I really kind of got that from like Ghetto Boys and NWA and them, just looking at them. So I didn't want just me and Mr. C on the cover, even though we was the only ones in the group. I knew back then it was like the more people you had looking like a posse or a crew, it was just a little bit more exciting to people, where they like, man, I want to check this out, It was just crew, so that's all I did. And that picture stood out to me when we got done with it. It just looked dope.
It looks cool. It looks hella clean. It looks hard.
Was that something that you guys talked about when you were coming up with the RBL Posse, was not being like a crew, or everyone had because we talked to Mike and Nine, and when they came up with Freestyle Fellowship, he said he wanted it to be something different than like a crew or a gang or this or that, because it was a fellowship. Is Posse something that you guys thought of, like, this is different, no one really has this, and
exactly
trying to be different?
Yeah, really, I kind of got it from Big Daddy Kane and them, really, the East Coast dudes, it just and plus it was just like the NWA when they first came out, they was NWA Posse. So it was, we was just really kind of like following the dudes we looked up to, and I didn't want it to just be Black C and Mr. C or just RBL, I just wanted it to be a crew, because we was HRD. As far as our little clique up there, we was the HRD clique, but I didn't want to be called the RBL clique. So we just kind of went with the posse thing because I had all them dudes on the cover, even though a lot of people thought they was rapping on the album. It was just me and Mr. C the whole time. Yeah. But a lot of people thought like one of them maybe was a DJ or something and all that, but it was none of that.
That means you did a good job. That means that you built it well. Right. Motherfuckers believed it. They bought it, they believed it.
That's right.
Believability.
Exactly. Yeah, they were just really in there just like models, you could say, you know what I mean? Then was my guys who I grew up with. I was like, hey, come in for the picture, and they loved it.
When you guys were creating your second album, Ruthless by Law, what was the energy like making that album, man? You guys just like track number 1, Bounce to This, hard as fuck, bro.
Yeah.
Coming out as hard. Like, what was the energy like creating that album?
Man, that album was it was super fun, and we was motivated by then. We had Hitman around and NOH Mafia, a lot of my younger dudes, and they was bringing that new age flow. They was spitting, Hitman coming in with all it. Even though Mr. C, he was a lyrical dude, he'd drop metaphors and punchlines and stuff like that, but Hitman took it to another level where he made him even step it up even more. We was in there scratching our head like, man, these dudes are spitting. They raw. So going there, the energy was through the roof. It was a lot of competition. You know, it made me want to rap a little faster because of NOH. You know, him, Mr. C wanted to spit a few, drop more bars. So going in there doing that, you know, and we had just, Mr. C had just got out of jail. And then later on, me and my brother ended up going to jail, got framed for this rape charge. So we sat in jail for about 6 to 7 months. Just fighting a bogus charge that the girl ended up coming and saying it was us, and it was like, oh no, y'all wasn't there. With some younger dudes in my neighborhood that did it. So we got out with just, you know, just man, ready to go to work. So after going through all that, man, we got in that studio and nothing but fire was coming out. So like every song we was making was just hits, you know, and we was making that transition too from samples to doing original music. We was trying to get away from the samples because of the fallout with In a Minute we was going through over the samples on the first album, you know, trying to get them all cleared. So we had to prove ourselves and show that we can actually, you know, do some original music and still, you know, come again.
On that album, I grew up in '87. My dad was already bumping RBL as a kid. He used to always bump Bluebird. How did you come up? How'd you come up with that Bluebird on my shoulder? Can I kill it? Yeah, super catchy. But where'd that come from?
Mr. C didn't really care for it at the first either. That was actually supposed to have been it was going to be a solo song for me because he thought it was kind of corny-ish a little bit. He was just like, what the hell, Bluebird? And I was like, you don't remember the kid game, hide go seek? We used to always say, there's a Bluebird on my shoulder, could I kill it? And all the kids, you know, say no. And, you know, and then when everybody hide, you know, then you go searching for them. So it was like a hide and go seek game, but I used it as sort of like a police thing because we used to call the police the boys in blue. So it was mainly more like my police song, like saying fuck the police type thing. So that's where that kind of came from, a Bluebird on my shoulder. Can I kill it? It was more like talking about the boys in blue or the ghetto bird, you know, the helicopters or whatnot. So I tried to flip it and he didn't really get it until I came in there to drop my verses because I had 3 verses, 3 12s that I was going to drop. So I did my first 2. And I just seen him in there just write. He started writing. I seen him outside sitting in a control room, sitting down, and he just started smiling and he started writing his little verses. And when I came out, I was like, what's up? I said, would you like it? He's like, man, that's dope. Because he never heard the hook. And once the hook was looping and he heard me in there doing my verses, he got busy. He was like, oh, bro, I got to get on this. So I had to chop my third verse.
Beat slammed.
And the beat is a slump.
Super hard.
Wow, yeah, I produced the beat, man. That was just one of them things that I was making another beat and it kind of came on an accident, the little reverse.
That's what it is. That reverse is killing it.
Yeah, I would think I was messing with like Roger, and then it was that Could It All Be So Simple, that Wu-Tang, that boom, ba-doom, ba-doom, and I just kind of played that bass line over a little bit differently, but it came from that song actually, you know, and I just kind of reflipped it. And I had a Roger beat that I was playing in reverse because any type of loop I'm gonna use, I always see how I sound in reverse. So I reverse it. I was just like, oh man. So the drums from the Roger, we end up kind of playing it on and removed the Roger sample, but we end up using, you know, enhancer end up reversing it. The pattern from the Roger, we end up redoing over with our own 808s and stuff. So it'd be a little bit more clear. We wouldn't have all that background noise in it. So. And that's how it came about. And I ended up playing that lead in it. And the enhancer touched it up. And it was through the roof. Mr. C went crazy for it then. And he was just like, man, I got to be a part of this. This is a hit.
One of the first reverse beats I've ever heard. Hook on and a lot of people do the reverse beat like later after that and shit. That shit's hard as a motherfucker.
The hook with the slap of the beat, I think,
hard.
You know, is as simple as it is. It's just that sometimes,
so unique.
You know, they say sometimes you don't need to fucking be doing something so technically. Don't reinvent the wheel. Keep it simple and look how good how clean it sounds.
Make a whole lot of nothing look real good. Real good.
Yeah.
For real.
When was the first time you guys went on tour? Were you young, and what was that experience like as a young man with money and out seeing places that you've never seen before? What was that adventure like, and a little bit about that time?
Yeah, it was I said we first went on tour probably around 93. Like maybe the end of 92 going into 93. And our first tour was pretty much Southern California, San Diego. And then I think we went up. It was mainly just all West Coast. We just kind of like went from Seattle from San Diego on up to Seattle and Portland, stuff like that. And we actually took Dre Dog, Andre Nicotina, who was Dre Dog at the time. That's kind of pretty much kind of like, because we was hot, and he came in and kind of opened up for us and was there in the van, and he benefited from it. You know, he ain't looked back since. You know,
hell no.
We do all our stuff, and you know, that's my brother, man, and you know, one love to Dre Dog, man, Andre Nicotina. But yeah, he came with us, and we had fun, man. We ended up getting close, you know, going on that little couple city tour, and it was fun, you know, just getting out there, just getting away from Hunters Point, seeing something different. It just broadened the horizons for us to where we was like, okay, yeah, we got to really take this serious, you know. And yeah, we didn't look back. It was one of them things where we couldn't wait to get back and create some more music. And but I don't know, we stayed out there. Our album, we would have still been out there. Really, Jason had to kind of push us in the studio to get the start on the next album, because we was out there doing our thing all the way, like I said, till that little rape stuff came out. But we was on tours and running around for a minute, for a while. Like you know, we kept getting booked in Detroit. I mean, the Midwest, Kansas City. I mean, they were just booking us like crazy. So we didn't slow down to even try to get in the studio until we actually sat in the county jail for a minute, and then got back out and got busy. But the tour life was fun to us. We loved it.
Yeah, that's got to be a tough choice when you come to that crossroads where it's like we could stay on the road and continue to make money and have fun and keep doing this, but we really need to get in the studio and make more music so we can stay on the road. Yep. It's know, double-edged sword.
You can only stretch an album so far.
Yeah, exactly.
But the Herm compilation actually was like, it helped us too, because that was like a little alley-oop to keep us out there. Because when Herm dropped a compilation in '93, and we put I Got My 9 on there. And that did hella good. Like that compilation like blew up, and that let people see like, okay, they coming different now. They got some original music, which still was a sample, but we replayed the sample over. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, it helped us out. That clear, that one-way clear
gave you a little boost.
When it comes to clearing samples, how difficult is it to do nowadays?
Nowadays, people just using stuff and calling it a mixtape. I don't think nobody clearing anything nowadays, unless you like tied to a major label. Yeah. But if you independent, they just like, you know, when they catch me, that means I'm making some noise. So by the time you get caught, you were willing to pay for it, or you just go remove it. You know, so I don't think nobody clearing samples. Then they was on you. You had to, you know, they'd pull your album down and get to the distributor or whoever you're going through and put a stop to it, you know, put a halt to it, and make you get shelved. But nowadays, these young dudes ain't clearing those samples, man. All these youngsters is using anything they can get their hands on. They just putting it out there.
Yeah. That's funny that you said that too. You're not the first. We've had a couple independent artists that we've done interviews with that said the same thing. Like we will ask them about the sample thing. They're like, "Shit, I'm waiting to get sued. When I get sued, that means someone's looking. That means I'm making it.
Finally cares.
That means it's selling, because they don't trip on you unless you on radio is blowing up.
Making money.
You know, then it's like, okay, now I got a few bargaining chips. Maybe now I can give them some publishing, give them half the publishing, or maybe give them all the publishing, and I
just make another song. Keep the noise. Yeah, keep the noise off of it.
Yeah.
Right.
After you guys signed to Atlantic and got that major deal, you know, the Mr. C passes, like, did things just feel like it halted, or you know, like, what was that time like?
Man, it halted for me, because I was doing all the beats. I was you know, doing a lot of production aside from like Enhancer, and said we'd get a beat or two from Selsky and TC. But after that happened, it was just like, I don't know, I was just in this dark place to where I didn't really even want to do music no more. It was, you know, but I don't know. It was like after talking to Mike Karen and them and the guys over at Atlantic, you know, I just said, you know, I'm gonna just keep it going. They still wanted to do the deal with me, so I ended up doing a deal, pulled Hitman in to kind of help out a little bit. And the motivation really came from me meeting Mike Mosley and Rick Rock and them. You know, Rick Rock had some beats, because I wasn't making nothing at the time. I had pretty much probably took like a year off, you know, and I wasn't just in the studio. It just wasn't coming to me. You know, I just kept thinking about Mr. C and what could have been and what could have happened and where we would have been at with this deal. So, you know, it was a real setback for me. But I just tried to get in there with Rick Rock and them, and they brought a different type of flavor, to the RBL stuff, because we used to getting on the funk samples and like some mob beats and stuff like that. And he brought like a whole different sound to the table for me. So it was a little bit different, man. And it was challenging at the same time. People liked the album, but to me, it's nothing like them first two albums. They just different, The iPhone I album was cool. A lot of people love it. They got a lot of favorites off of it, but I ain't gonna lie, I didn't really care too much about that album.
Yeah, an eye for an eye. Cool, and it ended up being 70 on the top 200 Billboard, I want to say, which sold the most out of the 3 albums.
Right, it did good.
But that's what happens when you have the big.
A lot of the fans and everybody loved it, but me myself, I don't know. I think I was just still tripping on Mr. C and everything. Just one of them times where when I listen to them songs, I know what zone I was in at the time when I was making them. I was, thinking about Mr. C, and it was just one of them like albums where it's just like, man, I just want the success just to really hit these dudes where it hurt, just the betrayal and everything. So, like they say, success is the best revenge. So I was just really using that deal just to kind of shove it in their face, where I should have just stayed focused and got in the studio, went to work, started doing some of the tracks myself, and try to keep that relationship with Atlantic to where I could have kept that account open and benefited from it. Because I ended up falling out with them too behind that, because I wasn't used to the, they got a formula where they want you to come in, they want you to deliver a single before you even start on your album, and I just wasn't into that. I just was like, I like to go in and just start on my album, but they don't even open the budget up unless you get them a single to push. So I tried to send them 2 singles in, and we kept bumping heads, and it just didn't work out. They was, they really get you to the round table. They were just like playing a lot of stuff from No Limit, like, yeah, we need something like this. And I was like, man, I don't make songs like that. I don't do shit like that. That ain't me. Y'all signed me for me doing me. Now y'all trying to get me out here in New York, get me to this big round table and trying to playing me No Limit tracks.
Trying to pass Master P on you and shit.
At the time, and it just wasn't cool.
The downfalls from being signed to a fucking major mainstream label.
Yeah, the creative differences and freedoms and all that shit.
What they think sells, they want you to sell.
Yeah.
Well, that's horrible.
Exactly. Not at the time, that's what they want. They want you to collab with them artists, or they want you to try to make songs like them artists. So, and I couldn't do it. So we was, just pretty much just bumping heads for a whole 2 years to where, I just pretty much got shelved, and I walked away and was just like, man, y'all ain't finna shelve me. I'll get back on the independent game. So I ended up going independent and just started using my connections I had with City Hall Records and Rap Bay, Urban Life. So, and I left it right there, and started pushing stuff out to where we came back around and got cool, and they ended up giving me my walking papers. They were just like, you can go on and do your thing. We ain't gonna hold you back. If you got deals on the table, whatever, y'all can go on and do your thing. We not even worried about it, because they had a bunch of big artists at the time, so they didn't care.
Yeah, you have a vast collection of solo albums. What was the transition like moving from a group rapper to a solo rapper?
It was a little. The first one I was a little nervous, because even when I first worked on the first RBL album, that was actually going to be my solo. That's why, if you notice, a lot of songs was like, so almost like my solo songs, and I added Mr. C, like sort of like a Psycho, A Lesson to Be Learned, More Like an Orgy. A lot of them songs was like me either coming with 2 verses, and then I added Mr. C on, and I just got cold feet when it was time to go in the studio. So that's how I ended up getting with Mr. C in the first place. I had a few songs that I was working on myself, including Bammerweed, and I wanted to go in the studio with T-Lo, and T-Lo, and he was one of the hottest rap. He was like our Ice Cube up there, he everybody wanted a piece of him, and I was trying to go in the studio with him and be a group, and he was just like, nah. He it was a bunch of dudes in the neighborhood who wanted to put him out, so he was just like, nah, I know somebody. I date their sister. And he rap, that's all he do is rap. So that he introduced me to Mr. C, and I was using Mr. C as a lead, the front man for the group, because I was nervous. So when I started on my first solo album, it was the same thing. I was just trying to, Hitman wasn't around as much. He went back to our old neighborhood, started hanging out a little bit. So I just started playing around with it. I was just like, let me put together a couple tracks and just see what people say, and a lot of the fans was like, we like your voice. You like this, man. All you got to do is just come with some hard stuff, do this, do that. So, my brother and them had got swooped up. The feds was around due to the fallout of us and our old homies. And they picked up a lot of dudes. So that just motivated me to put out The Last Man Standing, because they picked up a lot of dudes. It was more like the rap thing, me being the last man standing in RBL and from the neighborhood. A lot of dudes got picked up, maybe like 15 to 20 dudes. And a lot of them was gone who was a part of that era when we made that album. The dudes who was on my album cover and all that, all of them was in jail. So it was pretty much like just only me out there. So that was the reason why I named it The Last Man Standing. But after I got over that first album, it got easy to me. And I kind of started liking it, because I ain't got to worry about nobody else. It was just all up to me when it came to, songs, beats, just getting stuff done. I didn't have to worry about, going to somebody else and making sure they like it, or, if they wanted to be on it, or if they wanted to put something that they like on, it was just all me. So I was able to do what I wanted.
Yeah. Being somebody that's been in San Francisco your entire life, have you what has the transition been like, seeing the city go from what it was when in the 80s and 90s to now being a kind of a tech driven neighborhoods, kind of being driven out, people being driven out of their homes that their families have owned for 100 years so they can build apartment complexes for tech kids. What's that transition's been like? Because I know it's even hit out at Hunter's Point. So what's it been like out there? Is it an easy transition, or is it something that you've kind of?
Well, it was easy for me because I had moved out. I had moved up when I put Hitman album out in '95. Right before Mr. C had died. I started house searching. Started looking for a house out in Antioch. So I had started making that transition to get a new house and all that stuff. So I ended up moving out to Antioch, and I already knew that was gonna happen. We didn't own the property. We wasn't around there in public housing and the whole nine, stand up in the projects and all that. So I already knew the gentrification was coming. You seen it slowly but surely. They starting to build condos down by Candlestick and doing all. You seen it, but they wasn't giving it out. They'd probably give a couple vouchers out to some new moms who probably had kids, let them get in there, and then they start setting up all these new different rules and regulations where if you get caught, or somebody in your family who's on a lease or stay in your house, if they get caught with drugs, use automatic eviction and all that. So
looking for reasons.
I knew it was coming, so I ended up I started making that transition myself to where it's like I need property I own. So I ended up, as soon as Hitman album blew up in '95, I started investing money right away, and went and bought me a house in Antioch, and I ain't look back, ain't really look back since. So I seen it over the years, just start transitioning. You start seeing, even right now, you go over there at 3rd Street, they moving everybody out the hood, but you go on 3rd Street where it used to be like our Crenshaw. I mean, you got Asians, Caucasians, or whatever, just all up in bikes and walking dogs and dudes down there who's doing donuts and it's
electric scooters and shit.
I mean, it's a crazy mix, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's weird when you go over there now. I mean, the how they got the trolley thing going up and down 3rd Street now, the tracks and all that. I mean, the Chase Center now and all these little coffee shops and everything. I knew it was gonna happen because San Francisco is a tourist town. They
they thrive on
that. So there's nothing to be like, oh, we're finna accommodate you motherfuckers over here who living off this government assistance and we losing all this tourist money. No, that ain't finna happen. So I mean, I ain't mad at them,
As we wind down here, what's your relationship with Larry June?
Yes, sir.
Your collaboration work with them is fucking great, for one. What's the relationship with Larry June?
He calls you his uncle. Are you guys related?
Yeah, it ain't my nephew, but me and his pops, like his pops was supposed to be on my first cover. Me and his pops been knowing each other since, we was like when I first was walking and came outside, me and my mom and his mom kind of grew up like how me and his dad grew up. They was like all young, going to Woodrow Wilson High School, and they all stayed in the same neighborhood, and they grew up. So me, him, the other guy, Booby, who had Big Block Records, we all was like young dudes over there, grew up calling each other cousins, you know. So he is like my brother from another mother. Me and my family and his family grew up together, been knowing each other for years, and him and my daughter grew up together. They the same age. So, you know, that's all it is. It's just his daddy name is Larry Jr., you know, so he just took he's the junior of his dad. He really the third, I believe, but he called himself Larry Jr., but that was his pop. His pops grew up with us calling him Larry Jr. So that's like, you know, I talk to him every day, his pop. So, you know, it was only right. And back in like 05, 04, 05, when his daddy first had told me that he was trying to rap, he was maybe like 14, 15. You know, I help him out, work with him. And then he got good enough to where I put him on a song called I Needed the Love. And we shot the video. Back then he didn't have no mustache and none of that clean face. You know, you look it up on YouTube.
I've seen it.
Black Sea Needed the Love. It's on my 70s Baby album, I believe. Yeah, he was sounding like T.I. a little bit. That was like his favorite rapper at the time. You know what I mean? Besides us, he loved T.I., you know, because he used to go back and forth from Harbor Road, our neighborhood, to Atlanta. And his daddy stayed on Harbor Road. His mom had moved, Janine. I'm close with her too. We all grew up together. Like his mom's and her family love him to death. Like her grandfather was like the first rapper in Hunters Point. You know, he wasn't really put Hunters Point on the map in my eyes, you know. So it's like a small little, like, you know, little small knit little family. Like we all grew up together, knowing each other. And it was only right for me to try to help him out. Now that he blew out, he came back and reached back out to me like, Unc, I need you on some stuff. And I was like, man, I'm semi-retired. I'm kind of like, dang, you know, I ain't doing the music thing really. I'm selling merchandise. You know, you got to come out of retire. You got to come do this for me. So I got on a song, Meet Me in Frisco, and
that song's sick. Super sick.
It kind of woke me up to where it's like I need to get back in the studio now. You know what I mean? So
it's crazy. He sounds like an old soul too. But to think he's born in '91 kind of blows people's minds. You know what I mean? Just the way he raps, the way he sings, his calmality, everything about him just seems like he's real slick to the game. You know what I mean?
Right, and I love it too because it reminded me of me on our first album with a little bit of, you know, Mac Dre in him.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
A little bit of Mac Dre swag, and I like it because his whole swag, his whole persona really come from his daddy. Like his daddy was into, like when we didn't know about Jabot jeans, and his daddy was one of the dudes that stayed healthy. All he did was work out. And we used to always call him Orange Juice Jones, like, man, because that's all he did was like drink orange juice. He didn't drink no liquor. Like he stayed healthy, you know, and stayed on the weights. And he got that from him, like all the old school Air Max, Nikes, and all that's like his pops was into all that, you know, all the vintage stuff. And he took on that, you know, and that's what I love about it. And all the cars that he got, them was the cars his dad had, the McLaren,
5.0s, them old ass Corvettes and shit.
All that stuff is cars that he loved because his dad used to drive him around in it. You know what I mean? Besides his Cougar, I'm surprised he ain't got a Cougar yet, but he had a 6.7 Cougar.
Dope.
The gold Zeniths on it. It was light blue, white top. That's when I had my Skylark. I still got my Skylark. He got rid of stuff, but I just restored my Skylark. But yeah, we all was just, you know, on the block, and he watched his daddy and all that stuff he bringing back, and I love it about him. I love it.
Yeah. So clean. Before we go here, what keeps you motivated to make music now, man? You dropped a new album last year, Black Caesar. It's fucking dope. What keeps you motivated, man?
Really, like nephew, he brought me out of retirement, and I got bit with the bug, and now I've been just busy. Yeah, I ended up, like I said, I got him on my album. He got me on that on his album, on that whatchamacallit, the organic work.
Yep.
And
numbers.
His fans, just having them new fans, the new younger fans, go back and do research and just tell me how much they love me, and like, oh man, we love you, all of you and Larry June collaborations, we love you, and man, you got to keep going. We went and checked out your first album, and they loving the way they, like, all of them love remind them of like a Larry June song. They like, we see where Larry June get it from now. And so that just got me motivated. And right now I'm just finished up my second, another album that I'm waiting on my features to come back in from Larry June and Jay Worthy. And then I'm dropping it. But you know, it's just, man, I'm having fun with it now. So it's back fun again. You know, it'd be hard when you counting on the check from it, or like how I went through the slump with Mr. C. It wasn't fun. So that's why I was semi-retired. But Larry June made it fun again. Me going on tour with him, being down there for the Orange Print tour, just seeing all the fans go crazy for him and then show love when I come out on stage. It just, I got bit with the bug again. And so now I'm back activated. So I'm running laps now. So, you know, I got the book about to come drop next week. So we got that coming in. For those that don't know, it's called Black Sea, a part of survival from the block to the booth. That's dropping, just talking about all the trials and tribulations, the come up of RBL, the fallout of me and my guys in the neighborhood and the guys on the cover.
Yeah. Where can people get that at?
Right now it's gonna be online. I'm gonna have it on my store right now only until I figure it out, because it's a new game to me, this book thing. So I don't really know how it works. So I just wanted to press it up, get it, and just sell it online in my store at either they can go to my website, www.rblposse.com, and go to the store, or they can go to our big cartel, www.bigcartel.rblposse.com.
Awesome. We'll put a link up for that for sure.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be in the store first. So I'll have signed copies for the, you know, like the first 50 to 100 people that buy to purchase it, you know. So I just want to keep it cheap too. I don't want to go in the stores and everybody got to put their tax on it. Then the book is at $30, $40. I'm trying to keep it cheap to where it's like $20, $25 or something.
So everybody can get it. Yeah.
You know, it'd be good for the fans to be able to have as a keepsake and just to really get the true story, you know.
Hell yeah.
What it was.
Milkcrates and Microphones will definitely be buying one of those copies of that book and putting it in the studio and listening. Can't wait to hear more of your new music. And now that you got the bug and you're back activated, can't wait to see you maybe even out live performing and, you know, doing out on the road, fucking
out again,
doing what you do, because we love to see it. We love to see it.
Much love, man. Appreciate that.
So,
I'm definitely activated. So
fuck yeah.
Stay tuned.
Thank you very much for spending Friday with us and chatting it up with Milkcrates and Microphones. We really appreciate it. Like I said, can't wait to hear all your new music, and you know, good luck on all your future endeavors, and hopefully we can talk to you soon. Next time you release a new album, maybe come back on, promote it. We'll talk a little bit more about because we love chopping it up.
First quarter next year, I'm gonna have a few singles dropping. Probably in November. You know, I'm going to mix next week. So you know, I'm on my way right now. I'm just, like I said, just waiting on these features to get done. But most definitely ready to come back and chop it up with y'all.
Fuck yeah. We love to hear stories. We're all from Northern California in the Stockton, Lodi area. So we love hearing stories from that San Francisco era of hip hop, because it's such a big part of our journey of listening to music. So thank you once again, Black Sea, for joining us, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Peace out, brother. Appreciate you.
Peace out. Salute.
Peace out. Homie.